Happy Wednesday, Mount members and friends. Welcome back to our Shape Bible Study series as part of our Fasting to Get in Shape 2025 Lenten Journey. We're exploring how our spiritual gifts, our heart, our abilities, our personality, and experiences work together to reveal God's divine calling on our lives. Last week, we discussed spiritual gifts, the unique abilities that God has given each of us to serve the church and to serve the world. So if you missed it, you can always go back and check it out on our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel. Mount members, this is for you. The spiritual gifts assessment is in the Lenten journal, but it was also emailed to those of whom we have email addresses. We hope that you are taking this journey seriously, because I believe it will make us a healthier, a stronger, more effective, and more engaging ministry. Before we get started, as always, I encourage you to share this video on Facebook and on YouTube, and to invite someone to call in and listen at 804-203-9011. Today we're going deeper. We're talking about your heart. At 6 Mount Zion, we believe that every member is called to serve. And serving isn't just about duty. It's about your passion. It's about doing the things that make your heart race, the things that will bring you deep joy and deep fulfillment. When we talk about heart in the SHAPE framework, we mean your passions, the causes, people, needs that stir something deep within you. So let's begin by reflecting on a couple of questions. First, what drives you? Second, what excites you? Third, what makes you feel most alive? And as we get into this lesson, I want to tell you that there are a lot of reflective questions that we're going to be asking today. And the video may be a little shorter so that we can spend more time in the after Bible study chat. What is your heart? The Bible often speaks of the heart as the center of our emotions, the center of our desires and our affections. Proverbs 4:23 tells us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Your heart is what fuels your life's direction. It's what makes you explore new opportunities, build relationships, and seek solutions to problems that matter to you. Think about what naturally grabs your attention. Some people are drawn to teaching, others to caring for the sick, mentoring youth, advocating for justice. These desires are not random. God placed them in you for a reason. How God shapes our passions. God created each of us with a unique emotional heartbeat, a holy discontent, a burden for something that needs to be changed in the world around us. Consider Kay Warren, wife of Pastor Rick Warren. For years, she lived a comfortable life, deeply involved in ministry, but not particularly burdened by any single cause. Then one day, she read a magazine article about the AIDS crisis in Africa. The image haunted her. For weeks, she couldn't stop thinking about the suffering she'd seen. At that moment, she says God broke her heart. She could have ignored it, but instead she said yes to the calling. That yes led her to launch a group called Acts of Mercy, a ministry dedicated to serving those affected by HIV/AIDS. Maybe you've experienced something similar. Maybe there's a need, a group of people, or a cause that you just cannot shake. That may be God speaking to you. In Colossians 3:23 and 24, Paul reminds us, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. It's working for the Lord, not for the people. It's the Lord you're serving. God wants your heart to beat for the things that matter in the kingdom. Another example of how passion and calling intersect is my own journey. Some of you know that beyond my role as pastor, I also serve as an elected representative, elected official, representing over 65,000 residents in my district. But my journey into public service did not start with success. In fact, I first ran for school board back in 2007, and I lost. I lost by about 18%. It hurt. You know, at the time, it was devastating. It was a part of God's plan, but I didn't know it. I questioned whether this was truly what God wanted for me. I retreated and I jumped into my work wholeheartedly at the church. But my heart kept beating for being a voice in the community, for advocating for those whose voices weren't always heard. That passion led me to run again in 2011, this time for an even bigger position. And for over a decade, 14 years to be exact, I've had the opportunity to serve in a way that extends beyond the pulpit. In this role, I help shape policies that address systemic issues in our community, things that impact our daily lives, like our health, like the food we eat or where we live, things like hunger, homelessness, health disparities. In doing this work, I believe I'm living out the mandate in Matthew 25, being Christ's hands, feet, voice, heart in the earth. I share this not because my story is unique, but because God has placed a calling on each of our lives, not just mine. And sometimes that calling doesn't unfold the way we expect. Sometimes we experience failure before we step fully into our purpose. But when God places a passion in your heart, it's worth pursuing even when obstacles arise. If you're wondering how to pinpoint your passion, ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, who do you love serving? Think about the people in your life that you feel deeply connected to helping. Maybe it's young people who need mentorship, or single parents struggling to make ends meet. Maybe you have a heart for the elderly who feel forgotten, or those who are battling some type of addiction. Who has God placed on your heart? One example comes from the civil rights leader, one of the great ones who doesn't get the attention she deserves, Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer, born into poverty in the Jim Crow South, she spent years as a sharecropper before discovering a cause that stirred her soul: voting rights. Despite beatings, arrests, and threats, and we don't haphazardly jump over that. She famously said, quote, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," unquote. Her heart burned for justice, and she refused to stop until she saw change. What about you? What group of people pulls on your heartstrings? Is it young people struggling with navigating this world? Is it the elderly who feel forgotten? Is it single mothers, unhoused individuals, or those who may need help on the journey of their struggle with addiction? Again, I say, the people God has placed in your path might reveal where your heart is leading you. What needs do you love meeting? Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 1:4, God comforts all of us in our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort that God has given us. Sometimes our greatest passion comes from our greatest pain. If you survive loss, addiction, or trauma, God may be calling you to help others work through those same struggles. Think about the things that break your heart or move you to action. Do you feel compelled to help families struggling with food insecurity? Do you get emotional when you see people battling loneliness or depression? Are you always the one offering encouragement to those who are feeling lost? Often the things that burden your heart are the very things God is calling you to address. God has uniquely positioned each of us to meet different needs. There are different categories of needs we might be drawn to. First, we might be drawn to spiritual needs, helping people grow in faith, or physical needs, providing food, shelter, health care, or it could be relational needs, helping people build healthy relationships. What about emotional needs? Counseling or mentoring, offering up encouragement. What about educational needs? Teaching and training and equipping. What about vocational needs? Helping others find their purpose in work and in life. I want you to take a moment. What issue, and I've said this consistently for the past 10 minutes, what issue or struggle do you feel drawn to help solve? What causes do you love conquering with God? Some people are drawn to causes greater than themselves. Like I said, Fannie Lou Hamer was focused on voting rights. Some folk are focused on fighting injustice in general, advocating for mental health awareness, helping families who are struggling, serving in missions or outreach, whether locally, nationally, or even in foreign places. A cause is often something that fuels your passion over time. It's the thing that keeps you reading, learning, or advocating, even when others say, or even when others stop paying attention. Think about leaders like John Lewis, who dedicated his life to civil rights, or Shirley Chisholm, who broke barriers in politics. They weren't just interested in causes, they were committed to them. Millard Fuller, the founder of Habitat for Humanity, and keep them in prayer right now because they're under attack, left a successful career to follow God's call to build homes for those in need. His passion led to a global movement that has housed millions. Ask yourself, what is the one thing you would dedicate your life to changing if you knew you couldn't or wouldn't fail? What problem or injustice makes you say, this is not okay, and I have to do something about it? That may be the cause God is inviting you to take on, to tackle with boldness and faith. What cause keeps you up at night? What issue do you see in the world? You see all these questions I'm asking you? What issue do you see in the world and think someone should be doing something about that? Maybe, just maybe, it ain't them, but it's you. Maybe that someone is you. All right, let's think about this. Activating our passion. This is your call to action. Now that we've explored our hearts, now we've explored our passions, it's time to take action. First, we must ensure that our desires align with God's purpose. Not every passion is from God. Some desires come from pride or greed or selfish ambition. That's why we must first, number one, pray for God's guidance. Ask God to reveal whether a passion is from God. Number two, seek wisdom. Talk to trusted mentors and spiritual leaders. Number three, reflect on these three questions. Who do you love serving? What needs do you love meeting? What cause do you love conquering? And then here's a fourth question. Test it against the scriptures. Does your passion reflect God's love, justice, and mercy? When our passion aligns with God's word and God's work, we find true fulfillment. Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and God will give you the desires of your heart. When you surrender your heart's desires to God, you will discover a joy and fulfillment greater than anything the world can offer. Now, as we get ready for our after Bible study chat, I told you that was going to be quick, but I need you to settle in on those questions that I ask you. All right? One of the things that's wrong with the world that we are part of is that everybody is looking for somebody else to do something. And then we Monday morning quarterback and we pick apart what they're doing. And, to me, I feel like if you find your lane and your space, you ain't going to have a lot of time focusing on what somebody else ain't doing right. All right? So what is it that God is calling you to do? All right. As we get ready for our after Bible study chat, I want to hear your responses to these questions. First, you've already heard me ask you this like 4 times in here. Who do you love serving? Number 2, what needs do you love meeting? Number 3, what cause do you love conquering with God? All right? These are all questions that all of us should be able to answer. It's time to head over to our after Bible study chat. You can meet us there in 3 different ways. Download the Dialpad meeting apps, or just go to the browser on your computer, type in meetings.dialpad.com/SMZBC, or you can just call 804-203-9011. Remember, we're on our Lenten journey, so you can join us in the morning at that same place, 804-203-9011. All right, if you're watching Wednesday at 12 or 6:30, come on over to our after Bible study chat.